After 2 days in Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, we took a bus about 3.5 hours south to Lagos. This seaside town is popular with tourists and expats, and we were excited to explore its legendary coastline. Our apartment was uphill from the port, with a bakery and cafe on the ground floor, and a neighborhood market across the street. The seafood selection was fantastic as we'd hoped, and we were well stocked, including a beautiful fresh-cut flower. A decent restaurant was around the corner, and a popular local cafe on the same block had an inexpensive and pretty decent fare. A 5-minute walk downhill, the 400 to 500-year-old city walls mark the entrance to Old Town. The main tile-paved street is lined with shops and restaurants in 18th century buildings. Sprinkled throughout the town are beautiful tile walls like those we first saw in Lisbon. Continuing down through a couple plazas, you get to the main municipal market on the east edge of Old Town. Celebrating its first century, it's older, larger, and more elaborate than our community market, and we arrived after most stalls were closed, but it didn't seem like it had much more to offer than our market. Across the street from the market, the Lagos Promenade is a wonderful place to walk and shop on sunny days. Overall, we had excellent weather in Lagos. But one night, a real storm blew through and kept blowing all night. Though it had passed by morning, the seas were still very rough. One reminder of life on the coast. Though some saw it as a great opportunity. A nearby pedestrian bridge crosses the channel. Though you may have to wait for a sailboat to pass. And there are a lot of sailboats in the marina. The marina has a healthy fish population and several restaurants to choose from. But we liked Lazy Jack's, especially with their weekend live music. Just down from the drawbridge, Pearl Food Trailer has fantastic oysters. Lagos's closest beach is small, but right outside the city walls. Walking around the marina, you can access 5 kilometers of beach and 3 kilometers of boardwalk. The boardwalk crosses the train track to the 21-kilometer-long walking-biking trail. Contrasting with Lagos's beaches, the rocky parts of its coast are incredible. You can explore by biking or walking, and the ruggedness of the coastal rock formations is breathtaking. According to geologists, these rocks are hundreds of millions of years old, layers of sandstone and limestone carved by wind and water. There are some pretty amazing trails, most of which we didn't even want to attempt. But one caught my eye. And of course, the view was incredible. The Algarve coast alternates beach and rocks for miles, and going by boat gives a whole different perspective. So that's what we did. We picked a half-day tour at the Marina and had gorgeous weather for it. On the way out, we passed Lagos's replica of a caravel, the medieval vessel that enabled the city's rise in the 15th century. Prince Dom Enrique, known to us as Henry the Navigator, sent caravels from here to explore the limits of the known ocean, kicking off the great European age of exploration. Some of Lagos's walls date from that period. But the region's history goes back 2,000 years earlier to the Celts and Phoenicians. After the Punic Wars, Rome conquered the area, building a fortified settlement north of town atop Monte Moleao. Celtic tribes first occupied the site from the 4th to 3rd centuries BCE. The Roman-era site is only partly excavated and locked to the public, but you can climb around the fence to get a pretty good look. Lagos's first walls were built in the 8th century by the Moors. In 1174, the Moorish governor granted permission to build this church outside the northern walls, the oldest Christian church in the Algarve. This adorable nesting pair of storks was also north of town. In 1444, one of Prince Henry's expeditions purchased 235 slaves from Arguin in the Western Sahara and sold them in Lagos on the site of this building. A formal slave market was constructed, and Lagos became the center of the European slave trade for 300 years. The building is now an informative museum about slavery with some very interesting exhibits. Including the leader of a revolt who was brutally executed, and the skeleton of a slave that was dumped and buried beneath 2 meters of garbage. The 1707 Church of St. Anthony, a beautiful church in its own right, is home to the Lagos Museum. Founded by local archaeologist Dr. Jose Formosino, its collection includes building artifacts, artwork, an eclectic artifact collection, and animated presentations of key historical events like Sir Francis Drake's raid on Lagos in 1587, battles along the Algarve coast between French and English naval forces during the 7 Years' War, and the 1755 earthquake and tsunami that leveled, then flooded the city. Most of Lagos, including the walls, had to be rebuilt after this earthquake, including the Bandeira fort that guards the mouth of the harbor, which we cruised by on the first leg of our boat tour. Dolphin spotting was part of the package, so our pilot took us 17 miles offshore in search of some. But despite calling around to other boats, we didn't see any dolphins. There are many sea caves along the Algarve coast, but Benagil is very popular because the ages of water and wind erosion have carved a huge hole in the cavern's ceiling. Moving on, past some pretty gnarly coastal trails. And went into another cave. The upward erosion of limestone by the sea not only creates spectacular patterns, but it also exposes fossils that were trapped in sediment about 10 million years ago. And many are visible on the low ceilings. Returning to Lagos, we passed the nearby city of Portimao, less historic and more developed than Lagos. We would explore Portimao and farther west on the Algarve by land, which will be covered in our next video, so stay tuned.